So let's move on to part two. Um, Once again, most of this is not in chronological order, and I'm just kind of giving you a little background to my situation and what led me to finally say, you know what, fuck this shit, it ain't worth it. Uh, Gotta excuse me with the cigar smoke, but no one wants a house that smell like cigars, so or smell like cigar smoke. So I'm sitting outside on my porch, smoking my cigars while I'm telling you the story. So let's talk about some of the other things that she's doing, or I find out that she's doing. Somewhere along the way, she enlists the desk clerk from the Ramada Inn on the 600 block of Broad Street to be a part of this. So now, as far as I know, it's her, uh, another one of my team members, and the desk clerk from the Ramada Inn. So this is when I realized that the twins of deception are now the triplets of deception, with the addition of. So where the desk clerk from the Ramada Inn comes in is she's going to tell her these stories, and she's going to her crying, telling her I'm doing all kind of stuff to her. And this lady has been telling people that she was a law clerk at one time. Keep in mind, law clerk to desk clerk. The ugly and evil-hearted flocking together like birds of a feather. Imagine that. So she's getting this lady to type up all kind of paperwork, explaining all these things that I am supposedly doing to her. I'll give you another story of how she tried to say that I was doing something to her. Her and her partner are checking the building at number 17th Street, which my lieutenant has told me to make sure they do every morning to check for vagrants who have been sleeping in the building at night. So I'm sitting in the office with one of the sergeant who's on duty, and we're sitting there talking, and he gets a dispatcher calls him to tell him that they need assistance, her and her partner, that they need assistance inside the building that we're in. For whatever reason, I don't know if I have my radio turned on or whatever, I don't hear this. But we're sitting in the same office, and he says, hey, come go with me. No problem, we're working. So I get up to go with him. And as we're going out, he tells me what the deal is. And we're both bewildered as to why they call the dispatcher instead of simply calling us, because they know we're one floor below them. But whatever, we go up to the part of the building where they say they are, where they've told the dispatcher that they are, and where she's sent us to. Now, while we're doing this, while we're headed up there, we're both calling them on the radio to find out exactly where they are. Get no answer from either one of them. So we get to the part of the building that the dispatcher dispatched us to. No one there. So we're still calling, trying to find out where they are. Get no answer. So finally, our lieutenant answers and tells us that he's looking for this guy, and he's down on the ground floor of this building, which is parking deck. So we head down there. Now, mind you, we're still calling her and her partner. No answer. As we go out of the parking deck, we see a guy run across Reynolds Street. He's on 7th Street. He runs across Reynolds Street, headed toward Broad Street. And then we see the lieutenant running after him. So we go that way. And as we're headed up the road behind him, we see her and her partner just kind of casually walking along behind him. So this person goes into the building at 7th and Broad. The lieutenant goes in the building. We go in the building. We finally catch up with the lieutenant, and he's pretty sure that the guy's locked himself in a bathroom in there. So I go back downstairs to check with the security guard to see if there's a key that we can get to go in the bathroom and find out if the guy's in there. Well, when I come out of the elevator, her and her partner are on that first floor. I walk out of the elevator and I'm headed toward the security guard who sits right there in the lobby. Well, the guy that we're looking for walks out of the stairwell, walks right up behind me. And mind you, her partner sees this guy come out of the stairwell and never says, "Hey, there's the guy." Until this guy is literally right behind me. He is probably 2 feet away from me. When he alerts me that the guy is there, so I get him, handcuffed, and we have him in there. The lieutenant comes down and talks to him, and the guy's super disrespectful to the lieutenant. So lieutenant finally says, "Go ahead and lock him up." No problem. Because we realize that this guy has been told numerous times not to be in that building. And he's just being super, super disrespectful. So this guy goes to jail. No problem, no big deal. Well, later, we find out that this woman has made a complaint saying that she came into the substation where we were, and she could hear myself and the other sergeant sitting in the office laughing and ignoring her cries for help. Well, check the body cam. When she came into the substation, the other sergeant and I are no longer in the substation. We're headed up to where she is. You see the lieutenant come out and talk to her, which is how the lieutenant gets involved in this. And when she makes this complaint, the lieutenant tells her, we weren't in the office. We didn't ignore her. We never knew she was in there because we were already out looking for her. Well, that's not good enough for her. She continues this claim that the other sergeant and I ignored her and failed to help her. So there we are again with her trying to find something that I have done to her. Because mind you, she at this point she's not upset with the other sergeant. But I am her target. Although the body cam footage does not show the other sergeant or myself ignoring her, it does show her running away from her partner, leaving him alone with the suspicious person, as well as her partner not knowing the address to where they are and having to figure out how to call the dispatcher to tell her that they need help. But I'm the bad guy. So, whatever. We both know we haven't done anything, and we made the effort to try to help her. So now there's this thing that she's claimed I did to her. Let me go back to earlier in the year. She texts me, and I don't see the text for probably 15 or 20 minutes. She texts me to say she's going to HR when they open. So when I see the text, I call her. So hey, what's the problem? She says, "Oh, I already talked to the lieutenant." Okay, but what's the problem? This is I already talked to the lieutenant. I said, okay. You do know that you work directly for me. And she repeats again, well, I already talked to the lieutenant. So at that point, I'm like, okay, whatever. And now I find out a while later, not a little while later, a while later, that she has indeed talked to the lieutenant. She complained to the lieutenant about either she was docked sick time when she intended it to be vacation time, or vice versa. And she has complained that I am the reason that this happened. Well, I'm not a timekeeper. It was actually the lieutenant who had done her timesheet and had told her it was him that made whatever mistake she's claiming was made, and that he would take care of it, and that I had nothing to do with it. But that wasn't good enough for her. She wanted to go to HR. And now, mind you, she wants to go to the Richmond County HR office, not the Richmond County Sheriff's Office HR office. So once again, I'm the bad guy in her eyes. So, fast forward, at some point, she's decided that she's not getting any help from the lieutenant because the lieutenant has figured out I haven't done anything to this woman. Well, when she figures out that this is not working with the lieutenant, she decides that she's going to go to his boss, who's the captain of the North Precinct. So this is probably September when I find out that now she's going to the lieutenant. She's going to the captain with these false allegations against me. And I'm taking some days off when I find out about this. So I called the captain and I said, hey, I need to come talk to you. What's a good day I can come talk to you to meet with you? And I can't meet with him that day. I think he tells me like a couple days later I can come meet with him. But whenever it is, I said, okay, I'm not trying to go around or disrespect my lieutenant. So I let my lieutenant know that I'm going to meet with the captain. And he says, uh, and apparently the captain has already told him that we're having this meeting. And my lieutenant has to come to that meeting as well. And my lieutenant tells me he thinks he knows what it's about, so make sure I have whatever paperwork or documentation about what he thinks this meeting is about. So we move on. We're going to move on to when I went to meet with the captain. That'll be part 3. So I'll give you that story in part 3 of this video.